The expanded 2026 World Cup format introduces a brutal new math to international football, and the opening fixtures of Group I immediately stress-tested the survival strategies of four nations. In the span of a few hours, two heavyweights delivered definitive opening day statements. Norway dismantled Iraq 4-1, while France systematically broke down Senegal 3-1. This animated map highlights the contrasting philosophies behind those scorelines. On the left, France relied on rapid vertical transitions. On the right, Norway stretched the pitch horizontally, suffocating their opponent with sustained wide overloads. These distinct blueprints matter because the margin for error has shrunk. With 48 teams divided into 12 groups, the pathway to the knockout rounds is intensely congested. Securing 3 points is no longer enough. The precise tactical methods a team uses to score directly dictate their goal difference, which serves as the ultimate tiebreaker for tournament survival. In this expanded structure, the exact geometry of how a team loses a match is mathematically as critical as how they win one. Look at Senegal's first half against France. Led by veterans like Sadio Mane, the Senegalese side deployed an incredibly disciplined defensive posture right from kickoff. This diagram illustrates their setup, a 4-4-2 mid-block. The team arranges into two strict banks of four, hovering near the midfield line to compress space. For 45 minutes, French passing vectors were neutralized, bouncing to the perimeter and forcing harmless sideways possession. But executing this structure exacts an immense physical toll. Holding that specific spacing across 11 players in high tournament heat drains the legs rapidly. And as fatigue sets in, a spatial vulnerability emerges. The rigid horizontal lines begin to drift, leaving open diagonal pockets of space right between the defense and the midfield. A disciplined mid-block serves as a temporary delay tactic. Against an elite team capable of structural adjustments, it cannot survive a full 90 minutes. To break that block, France manager Didier Deschamps implemented a critical tactical adjustment in the second half. He utilized positional rotation, instructing players to deliberately abandon their traditional zones to confuse the marking assignments of the defense. Specifically, Deschamps ordered his wingers, Ousmane Dembélé and Olise, to swap sides and alter their attacking angles. This map tracks Olise's movement. By drifting away from the touchline and into central playmaking zones, he forced a reaction, dragging his designated marker inward and completely out of position. That single displaced defender fractured the structure, opening a massive diagonal gap in the once impenetrable Senegalese line. France immediately exploited it. A through-ball vector was threaded directly through the newly opened gap, bypassing the midfield entirely and landing right in the final third. This sudden, rapid transition isolated Kylian Mbappé against a single, exhausted defender with acres of space to accelerate. Mbappé buried the opening goal from that exact transition and then capitalized on the broken Senegalese shape again for a staggering 96th-minute strike. Elite mid-blocks fall apart when attackers manufacture artificial diagonal space through rapid positional rotation, bypassing the block rather than forcing a way through it. The Norway versus Iraq match offered a stark contrast in tactical blueprints, abandoning speed for a completely different kind of overwhelming offensive pressure. The Norwegian side completely ignored rapid transitional speed, opting instead for a slow, suffocating perimeter strategy built on sustained possession. This possession map highlights their approach. Norway deliberately bypassed the congested center of the pitch, shifting the ball entirely to the flanks. We see this clearly when winger Antonio Nusa held the ball just long enough to release an overlapping run, generating a 2-on-1 numerical superiority on the left wing. This is a classic wide overload. The immediate threat on the wing forces the Iraqi defensive structure to collapse inward toward the ball to compensate. By shifting the defense so drastically, Norway created sheer chaos inside the penalty area, resulting in the low cross that secured their first goal. While France exploited diagonal gaps from the center out, Norway generated their scoring opportunities by suffocating the defense from the outside in. The terminal end of both these tactical systems requires a highly specific type of elite forward to function. Mbappé acts as a dynamic transitional threat, a player who thrives by exploiting isolated tracts of space outside the defensive block. Conversely, Erling Haaland operates as a central focal point, planting himself directly inside the penalty area to anchor the attack. Haaland used his physical presence to capitalize on the exact wide overloads his teammates generated, sliding in at the far post to finish the sequence. This map details Haaland's secondary systemic role. He serves as the trigger for an aggressive high press, launching directly at the Iraqi goalkeeper the moment a back pass is played. That specific pressing trap eliminated the goalkeeper's reaction time, forcing the panicked clearance that ricocheted off Haaland's shin for his second goal. Elite shot creation splits down two clear paths, exploiting transitional space outside the defensive structure or functioning as a crushing focal point deep inside it. The on-pitch tactical execution ultimately translates into a brutal mathematical reality for Group I. This chart displays the current standings, with the goal difference column dictating the stark divide between the winners and losers. Looking at the top two rows, Norway sits in first place with a +3 goal difference, edging out France's +2. Norway's sustained structural advantage allows them to pile on late goals consistently, giving them the statistical upper hand over France's transition dependency to win the group outright. But for the teams sitting on 0 points, we have to calculate the qualification matrix. Under the expanded tournament rules, the 48 teams are spread across 12 distinct groups. This bracket map demonstrates that advancing to the new round of 32 isn't limited to the top 2 teams. The 8 best third-place teams across all 12 groups will also survive. The historical data projects a strict cutoff line. Earning 3 total points is the bare minimum threshold to enter that third-place conversation, which means the math is already punishing. Iraq's -3 goal difference presents a severe mathematical hurdle, while Senegal's -2 keeps their pathways slightly more manageable. For the losing teams, aggressive goal difference optimization is now a mathematical necessity. Avoiding a heavy defeat is just as important as securing an outright victory. Setting up a passive defensive structure and hoping for a draw is no longer a viable 90-minute survival strategy. To stay alive, squads like Iraq and Senegal have to abandon passivity entirely. They must generate their own attacking metrics to claw back that negative differential. Heading into match day 2, the requirement is absolute. They have to maximize the goals they score while strictly limiting any further defensive exposure. The tactical blueprints drawn up by the managers lead directly to the math that determines ultimate tournament survival. In the expanded World Cup format, tactical evolution and mathematical precision are the only 2 currencies that matter.